Hello and welcome to Issues and Insights on HCEC-TV. I'm Hollie Sexton Foy and I represent Abound Credit Union when it comes to financial wellness. We're so happy to partner with Hardin County Schools to provide youth and teens and young adults to be independent living as they go out into the world and make good financial decisions. If you would like to share more with your student at home or just talk in your family about financial wellness, there's free tools at aboundcu.com. Just go to aboundcu.com and click the Learn tab, L-E-A-R-N, and we're always here for you to help when it comes to financial wellness. Today we're talking about some exciting things coming to Radcliff and getting really deep in the details about planning. And this is my first time talking about planning on Issues and Insights, so I'm excited to learn. And the subject matter expert today with us is Murray Wanner, with the planning official for the city of Radcliff. So Murray, it's my first time meeting you and getting to know you. So for our viewers, please share with us, how did you get here? You're from Canada originally,
yes,
and now you're working for the city in Radcliff. So what got you interested in planning and got you to the U.S.?
So I've been in the U.S. since 2000, so I've been with the city of Radcliff for a little over 22 years now.
You're a local now.
Yeah, I feel like it. I've been here a very long time. And I love being here. It's a great place to live. But what got me into planning was I was in my first semester of college in Canada. I was actually at the University of Manitoba.
Okay.
And I had decided on a career path. I was looking at actually occupational therapy. And I kind of decided I don't know if that's really what I want to do specifically, so I started taking some tests about what are my interests, that kind of thing. I always liked geography. I like cities. I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. Social sciences, social studies, those types of subjects. So as I took these career tests, it was leading me toward all kinds of different options. The most odd was like a forest ranger. I guess maybe the environmental aspect, because there is environmental planning. There's different types of specialties like transportation planning, land use, environmental, urban design, which is more architectural based. So when I took all these tests, I found out, well, it's leading me back to planning, urban studies, urban planning. And I said, you know, I've always liked that. So I ended up choosing that path. And I transferred to the University of Windsor in Windsor, Ontario, which is across from Detroit. It's actually the southernmost city in Canada and is south of Detroit.
So geographically, you just kept going south.
Yeah, I went way east and south.
Okay.
But it was pretty cool. I went to University of Windsor. I got a BA in planning, graduated with honors. As far as that goes as well, they had a master's equivalency, so I was able to do an undergraduate thesis, which with a master's, typically in arts, you'd do a thesis. So I did my thesis as an undergrad, and then I ended up taking a job. I got a job in Florida out of college. I always wanted to go to the States because there's a lot of cities in the United States. Yeah. Canada is more spread out, less urban, more concentrated, but just not quite the population. So I went to Florida and worked in Fort Myers as a transportation planner for a while. It really wasn't my thing because it was a lot of numbers crunching, traffic calming, or traffic studies. It was a ton of traffic counts, mainly numbers crunching, reports about this high for projects. So I ended up coming to Radcliff, where I got an opportunity to be a land use planner with the city of Radcliff. I took the position back in 2000, and what I liked about it is it was planning and zoning. So with zoning, you have different aspects where the zone map allocates for permitted uses in certain zones, like a commercial zone, industrial, residential, and that's how that works. I don't want to get into it too much, but reviewing subdivision plats, subdivision maps, site plans for new development. We get into building permits with construction that are tied to site plan approvals. So That kind of thing really interested me versus counting cars on the road.
And it sounds like that's a position that really gave you the opportunity for days to look different. So you're doing and managing different projects simultaneously. So every day isn't Groundhog Day.
Yeah,
it's not the same.
yeah. There's
which
a
is
ton
nice.
of variety with it because you get, as a land use planner, you do land use planning. You do get into environmental aspects, doing some environmental planning. You also get into transportation planning. We work with Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, the MPO. I'm a member of the Technical Advisory Committee. So I'm involved with those aspects as well. There's some urban design aspects. We're getting into regulation drafting where you can actually form how the city looks. Long term, we did some streetscape projects on Dixie and other areas where you had street lighting, ornamental benches, trash receptacles. So
And is there a walking track there?
There are
now?
walking
I saw
trails.
people walking the other day when I was driving down the Dixie, and it looked like it was an official trail.
Yeah, so those were FEMA projects our city engineer worked on, and we had walking trails or multi-use paths installed around them. So I like land use planning because I'm able to branch out into different sectors of planning without just being specialized into one area very specifically, I guess I would say.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because part of HCEC-TV is to educate, right? But also to inform. And so explaining the different types of planning is important for us to understand what goes into it, and working for the city to make improvements, to also alleviate pain points, right?
Yes.
And one thing, as someone who drives through Radcliff for work every day, that I've noticed, and I don't know if this is under the purview of the city, is the changes in the traffic patterns and where you can turn. And there's a lot of changes happening there that I can see just as a casual observer.
Yeah, a lot of that has to do with development too. Development can actually impact traffic patterns, transportation networks. Essentially, the roads are built where the people go, and the people go where the development goes. So it's all tied in together, which is really interesting. But one of the things I wanted to talk about today, focusing in on, was the 2022 annual report, which is kind of an overview of our construction numbers for 2022. If you wanted to maybe for me to get into that a little bit and discuss, what kind of construction numbers we had for this past year.
Sure, and I definitely want to ask you about the Starbucks. That's what everyone wants to talk about too.
Yeah.
So with this report, the annual report, is this available to the public to access?
We don't have it posted anywhere. It's just something we use mainly as a internal tool, but if anyone wanted to access it, we could make it available with just a public records request form, and we could get it out to anyone who wanted it.
But it is public information.
If we got a lot of feedback, we could definitely give it out to people at any time. So.
How is the annual report generated? How is it created?
Well, what it is it's created out of, essentially we tabulate all our construction numbers from our building permits program every year. We use a software called iWorks, and it's a company out of Utah. And basically we generate all our permits on that software. So what I do is I go in and I do an annual summary of all our numbers from the 1st of January for this past year of 2022 to December 31st of 2022. And basically I create a list, and everything is inputted in such a way that it's categorized based off the types of construction. Different categories that we would have in that report. We've got them as 1 family attached, 1 family detached, 2 family, 3 family, and 4 family, 5 or greater, mobile homes. Those are all residential classifications for construction. We've got hotels, motels, amusement and recreation buildings, church and religious buildings, industrial buildings, parking garages, service stations, hospitals, office, professional, store and mercantile, educational. It goes on and on. Non-residential additions, alterations, remodels, or residential additions, alterations, or remodels. demo permits. So like we actually have, believe it or not, 22 different classifications of how permits can be categorized.
Oh my.
And we sort those all out. I go through that, and luckily the software helps me a little bit, but I do have to go and do a lot of manipulation through Excel files that I export out. And then I come up with this report. So, for example, just to give you an idea, the construction that we had in 2022, we had a little over 17 million. The previous year, I always look at previous years. In 2021, we had a little over 10 million. So all in all, we had actually a 65% increase in construction value from 2021 to 2022.
Looking at the report, it seems that there's a lot more housing. Obviously, we need that, but Callie Crossing is growing, Bethel Country, Auburn Hills, Falcon Heights. I don't even know where Falcon Heights is. That's so new to me. The Fields, and then Lincoln Trail Acres subdivision. Based on the numbers you shared, though, is there any emerging pattern where you see more money being spent than anywhere else?
A lot of the permits were actually in Callie Crossing subdivision and Bethel Country. Callie Crossing is on the south end of our city, which is off South Wilson Road, south of Joe Prather and north of 220.
So Patriot Parkway abuts. There's actually an egress
it's
into
actually
Callie Crossing.
This area, yes. You can get there from the west side of Callie Crossing. It is adjacent to Patriot Parkway, so there's an access over there as well as one from South Wilson. So
it's a massive
It's a huge
piece of land,
yes. So we had a lot of permits there. A lot of people don't even realize that's Radcliff because our city limits go in a linear fashion, north to south or vice versa, but we stretch out over a big area going south that people might think they're in Elizabethtown, or even in some cases Vine Grove. But that area, that's pretty far south, but we had a lot of permits there. And then also we had a lot in Bethel Country, which is off Deckard School. Believe it or not, part of that's in Radcliff,
Okay.
south of 220. So that's kind of like in the vicinity of John Hardin High School, close to that area. The three schools over there, Bluegrass, New Highland as well.
Okay.
And
Yeah, you're right. The area there, I would think that would be Elizabethtown city limits, but
they actually have Rineyville addresses, but they're in Radcliff.
Yeah.
So
how can you be in three cities at the same time?
Well, we get that question all the time. Post office dictates mailing address based off the route. We don't dictate it. So we have addresses in Radcliff, or we have properties in Radcliff that have Vine Grove addresses. We have some that have Elizabethtown addresses, and some that have even Rineyville that are in Radcliff. And so even Vine Grove, there's properties over there that have Radcliff addresses. They're in Vine Grove. There's property. Yeah, it's all over the place.
It's a lot to keep track of for sure. So, well, I'll be on the lookout for Bethel. I'm over there quite a bit, and I just hadn't even I noticed new construction, but didn't know the name of it. So
I think one thing is people, they do like proximity to schools. There's a convenience aspect there, so I think that is potentially a driving force as to why we saw so much development in those areas. But yeah, we had a lot of permits out in Callie Crossing this year. We had 54 total building permits for new housing, 108 total building permits. So as you can see, a lot of it was for new housing. In terms of single family permits, 49 of the 54 were for single family homes. As well, some of the other main categories that we had, we had 9.3 million in single family home construction out of the 17 million, which was 54% of the total. We also had quite a bit of store and mercantile construction value, 3.3 million, which was 19% of the total. Our two primary store and mercantile buildings that were constructed there's a new Petco being constructed, and Tidal Wave Auto Spa.
Where's Petco?
That is in front of Radcliff Square Shopping Center on East Lincoln Trail Boulevard. It's 129 East Lincoln Trail Boulevard. If you would know how to get there, you would go north on Dixie at the intersection of Dixie and Lincoln Trail. You would hang a right, and it's by the old PNC Bank that's being remodeled right now. It's just down from there, going east on East Lincoln Trail Boulevard. So it's directly in front of that plaza there. Sweet.
So there's a Petco, and then you said an auto spa.
Tidal Wave Auto Spa. It's a new state-of-the-art car wash.
Is it complete, or is it still under construction?
It's very close. It's still under construction. It's at 240 North Dixie Boulevard. It's just up from that remodel of the PNC building right at the intersection of Lincoln Trail and Dixie. It's just a little bit north of there. It's right next to the Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's state-of-the-art. They're out of Thomason, I think Thomason, Georgia is where they're out of. The manager down there, he told me that they're the Chick-fil-A of car washes.
Okay.
They want to make it right by the customer, and they're all about customer service. So the equipment looks amazing. It's a very nice looking stone on the building. It looks like it's going to be awesome. So a lot of people are excited about that too.
Yeah, and it sure helps when you're driving from Radcliff to Fort Knox or vice versa to see those new buildings going up. So it's nice to see new construction too, and the remodel. But I hadn't noticed the Petco, so I'm going to have to check that out. And then the auto spa once it's complete. A good friend of mine, and I already bought a class, started a cooking studio, which is really exciting. Clean Good Eats.
Yeah, that's really neat.
It is. She's going to teach us some air frying. My husband and I need some air frying tips. So that's just one of the many classes that she has. But we're doing it on Zoom. So she has a storefront now. Sakina Bunch is her name, by the way.
They have a storefront. That was a non-residential addition, alteration, remodel. Good Clean Eats cooking studio. It looks really interesting. I pulled them up on Facebook to see more about what they're doing. They promote very healthy, clean eating, which is pretty interesting. So that was one of our non-residential additions, alterations, remodels. Some of the other ones that we had were Crossroads United Pentecostal Coffee Shop. That's pretty interesting. It's over on Vine Street near Wilson and Vine. They took an old church building and they're remodeling it. It's getting closer, but they have a drive-through they added onto it, but they're actually, I think they have a really high-end espresso machine, from what I understand. A lot of those are over $20,000, and they're going to be getting a lot of their coffee, from what I understood, from Quills out of Louisville, so they'll have freshly roasted beans.
Nice.
So that looked really interesting. ServPro did an addition. Taylor Communications put in a massive addition.
They used to be in Elizabethtown.
I believe so, and they put in, I think it was at least, I want to say it was at least a 50,000 square foot addition. Ace Hardware did a remodel. Where they were located is next to the Dollar General on South Dixie, and they put in, they're probably one of the best looking Ace Hardwares I've heard in the nation. They got really high marks or scores from Ace Hardware. The owner told me, the property owner, he said that they basically loved what they had done there. Another remodel that was done was Starbucks. A lot of people have asked about that. I was referencing the old PNC Bank at Dixie and Lincoln Trail. That's where
McDonald's?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're driving down Dixie, headed to Fort Knox, on the right is McDonald's, and then the old PNC Bank.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah, so if you're going north on Dixie at Lincoln Trail, McDonald's will be on your right. You go past Lincoln Trail, right on the other side of the intersection, you have what will be Starbucks. The sign is up now. Half the building will be Starbucks. The other half, it's a split tenant, will be some other type business to be determined. They haven't decided who it's going to be yet, so a lot of people asking, who's going to be next to Starbucks? A lot of people just asking, when's Starbucks going to be open?
Yeah.
So,
well, I think between McDonald's, Starbucks, this new Crossroads Coffee Shop and then the Gathering Bakery, I think we're going to be in really good shape
Yeah.
when it comes to coffee and pastries
Yes,
and
actually,
gathering and food.
it was pretty neat that we had 2 coffee shops, basically. One was a remodel, or actually, I'm sorry, 2 remodels, in 1 year, one being franchise, one being local. So I thought that was kind of interesting because there's always access to coffee and pastries, but it was an area where they felt there was a need, so to have 2 in 1 year is pretty neat.
It is, and they all offer different things. So I think one place, it really is a gathering place for parties and meeting people and that kind of thing. And for me, Starbucks, I don't really go in and sit down. I know a lot of people work there. That can be a workspace for people. So maybe that's a suggestion for your Starbucks adjacent. Is a co-working, does Radcliff have any co-working office
Not
business?
specifically, but like you said about Starbucks, they are going to have, I believe, an outdoor patio there, a lot of them have.
Nice.
So
Okay.
you could sit inside, you can sit outside, but like you said, very drive-through oriented.
Very drive-through oriented for sure. And if you
double
want,
lane.
yeah, and on a Saturday morning, you want a really fancy cup of coffee, you go to Crossroads. I mean,
There
it's
you
just
go.
different. I can think of lots of reasons to have coffee, just
Yeah.
in different ways.
Exactly.
So in the little bit of time we have remaining, is there anything else that really stands out to you that you would like to share from the annual report?
So if you look at our values really for total construction, the 5-year total construction from 2016 to 2020 was a little over 11 million. And we were over 17 million this year, so we really did top out our 5-year average considerably. I was really happy with that. Then if you look at total building permits, we had 108, we had 98 last year, so a little bit of an increase. Over the 5-year, we'd average about 134. Realistically, that's probably not a huge number in terms of, it's a little bit of a difference, but it's more based on the value, and the value is quite a bit higher versus number of total permits. Number of housing units, we had 54 this year compared to 30 last year, so that was like an 80% increase in a year. Over 5 years, we were averaging out about 27. So basically, we're looking like a 50% on the nose increase in 2022 compared to the 5-year average.
Wow.
Yeah.
50.
Yeah, 50%. But from the previous year, it was like 80%. So we did have a really good increase in single-family permits, which helped our numbers. Just kind of looking at some of the other numbers. I guess really in summary, yeah, our total construction was considerably higher than last year, and it was also higher than the past 5 years average from 2017 to 2021. Number of single-family homes was higher, and I think what that's indicating really overall is that there's still quite a considerable demand for new single-family houses, but also other types of housing as well. And I think looking beyond 2022 into this year, it looks like we're going to have actually other types of housing types, like some multifamily developments, probably a variety. We may even have some like single-family attached, like patio home type duplex developments, but a continuance, I believe, of strong single-family demand. And it seems too like we're going to continue with some commercial projects as well. So overall, I think like the economy's healthy, our construction numbers are looking good, and I think from 2022 and looking beyond into 2023 and beyond.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing and educating
You're
us
welcome.
on planning the different aspects and with the annual report and answering all our Starbucks questions and everything that's going on with the city of Radcliff.